Hey everybody, it's a Tuesday morning. It's March 24th, top of the morning. And I'm here for February reviews. Not bad, only, a month late recording them. So, as I mentioned, if you guys watched my last, handful of videos, things are different here. I'm getting ready to rearrange my shelves. I just need to finish knocking out all these videos so I can filter in all my new titles onto my shelves. So I have that going on. The other thing I want to mention, and it's just like a personal achievement, is yesterday I've stopped drinking soda and energy drinks, and yesterday was 3 weeks without soda or energy drinks. Basically, in the morning, I have unsweetened iced tea, no lemon, no sugar at all, just unsweetened iced tea. Or I'll have a cup of coffee or cappuccino. But that's it. And then I'll drink iced tea, unsweetened, or water all day. I cut out soda completely. Like I said, I cut out energy drinks. It's been a little over 3 weeks. And yeah, I'm excited about that. So it's a personal humble brag. But yeah, I'm going to dive right into the reviews. I have 21 movies to talk about, so we'll dive right in. It looks like the first handful of movies, the first 4 movies, I don't have physical copies to hold, so let's go. The first thing I watched was a movie called Billboard. Check that out on Amazon Prime. So the movie caught my attention, and I wanted to check it out because it takes place in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is a fairly local city to us, probably 45 minutes away. It is loosely based on a true story about a radio station, an AM radio station, that had a contest where basically 5 contestants, I believe, lived up on a billboard. There were false promises. In the movie, there was a money giveaway and a mobile home giveaway. I guess the original contest was just for a mobile home. The movie basically takes the idea, and because of a poorly worded press conference, the radio station was AM 960, so he advertised it as the winner gets $960,000 to promote its radio station, which is, $96,000 or $960,000 in some people's minds. Basically, it gets turned into $9,600. The station has no ratings. It's pretty much broke. The guy who runs it, his dad was, the station runner for the longest time, and he passed away, so the son takes over, and he's struggling to keep the station relevant and alive. The movie's a very small, independent film. Not a lot of known actors in the movie. Some of the performances are pretty bad because it's a performance movie. Not a performance movie, a very independent movie. But it was fun to watch. It kept my interest. It's probably an hour and a half, if I remember correctly. Nothing fantastic, but if you're just looking for something kind of interesting to watch, I recommend it. It was 2 out of 5. Like I said, the performances were pretty awful in the film. The next thing I went and saw was Little Women with Regal Unlimited. So I went into the movie not knowing the Little Women story. I've never seen any of the other versions of it. I've never read the book. But I wanted to see it because it was one of 2 Best Picture nominees at that time that I hadn't seen. I was trying to see all the Best Picture nominees before the Oscars were on. And the cast is phenomenal. You have Saoirse Ronan, Timothée Chalamet, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, Meryl Streep, Laura Dern. It's a heck of a cast. The problem with the movie is if you're not familiar with the story of Little Women, it's a bit tough to follow in parts because the story is non-linear, so it jumps around from time frame to time frame. And, some of the characters don't look much different. The way they tried to age Timothée Chalamet was he had shorter hair versus longer hair. They didn't make him look any older physically. where other characters, it was easier to tell that time had gone by the way they dressed, especially the women. But yeah, it was good. I found myself getting lost in the story and really enjoyed it, even though I was not familiar with, the classic tale of Little Women. I thought that Florence Pugh and Saoirse Ronan were the highlights of the movie. I thought, Florence Pugh was probably the best part of the film. Saoirse Ronan's pretty much the lead, so she's in the movie a lot more. But yeah, I thought it was absolutely great. There wasn't a weak cast member, if you will. I highly recommend it. I believe it's coming out on Blu-ray very soon, like beginning of April. I give it a 4 out of 5. Definitely check it out if it's something that you think you'd be interested in. The next thing I saw was the last of the Best Picture nominees that I needed to see, and I saw it Regal Unlimited. I'm very glad I got the chance to see it on the big screen as opposed to seeing it at home, and that is Ford vs. Ferrari. Ford vs. Ferrari was an excellent movie. 2 lead performances from Matt Damon and Christian Bale that were both really well done, very likable in my opinion. The movie has action in it, there's drama, there's humor. In my opinion, it's the perfect quote-unquote dad movie. There's cars in it, so obviously a lot of dads would like that. But yeah, it was very well done. I was familiar with Shelby GT cars to an extent, but seeing the story of Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles, Carroll Shelby is played by Matt Damon. Ken Miles is played by Christian Bale. It was very well done. I cannot, recommend the movie enough. Hopefully I'll be getting it on 4K at some point. I give it a 4 out of 5. Probably a 4.25 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. And yeah. So next was Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. I'm calling it by the name that it was when I saw it, and not the Harley Quinn featuring Birds of Prey or whatever garbage they tried to turn it into that people think is the new name of the movie. I'm sorry, the credits say Harley Quinn or Birds of Prey and whatever. I'm calling it by the original name. I went into this movie. It was one of my probably top 5 most anticipated films of the year. And I think I went in with way too high of expectations for the movie. I wanted the movie to basically hit me the way Deadpool did when I saw Deadpool in theaters. The violence, the language, it just did not do that for me. I thought the movie was good, but the laughs were few and far between for me. I didn't think it was that funny. I wasn't a fan of a lot of the Birds of Prey characters. Harley Quinn was good in parts, but also got kind of annoying to me in parts of the movie. There were some cool action scenes, but not the over-the-top R-rated action that I wanted, like from something like Deadpool. I think that Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who played Huntress, was the highlight of the movie for me, especially in the third act when she basically showed a little more sense of humor, became a little more self-aware. But the third act is great. The first 2 acts, I actually found myself getting very bored in the middle of the movie. And then the third act happens, and I thought the third act was very entertaining. Definitely caught my attention and enjoyed the conclusion to the movie. But it's, I'm not trying. I gave the movie a 3.75 out of 5. I did not hate it. I would not rush out personally and go buy it when it first comes out on physical. But it's worth watching. It's just not something I can highly recommend. Go see it right away, day one buy. It's good. It's just, I don't think it's great. So, the next thing I saw was a first-time watch, and that is Tangled, this being my 4K Steelbook. I had never seen Tangled before. It's a movie that a lot of Disney fans and a lot of non-Disney fans actually seem to really enjoy. And this was a very pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed the movie. Like I said, I had never seen it. I'd heard a lot about it. So Disney basically tells the story of Rapunzel, but it's mixed with music, and there's a lot of humor in the film. And the love story in the movie is well done, and it crushes it. I mean, this was a very, very entertaining animated film that just fell through the cracks for me. There's lots of great voice actors in the movie. Mandy Moore, who voices Rapunzel, and then Zachary Levi Levy, Shazam in my eyes. But, he voiced Flynn Rider, and he was very funny. I liked the two of them in this movie. I'll definitely be watching this again in the future. I'm definitely glad I bought it on 4K. It looks really good. And yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed Tangled. Tangled. I don't know if I just said Tangle. Drink break. So the next thing I saw, I believe RJ and I watched this. Something that I've been wanting to check out for a while. And that is Tomb Raider from, I believe it's 2018. It's not going to have a date on here, is it? I believe it's from 2018. Yep. Starring Alicia Vikander. I thought she was an excellent choice for the reboot. Angelina Jolie was the ideal visual, Tomb Raider character, in my opinion. But those are for the old Tomb Raider games. I think Alicia Vikander fits more of the new Tomb Raider games that are out. Like, I think her look fits that. And, I'm not very familiar with the video game, but from what I've heard, a lot of this is basically, I forget which version of Tomb Raider, but it's basically peeled right out of a version of Tomb Raider. There's lots of set pieces, like the airplane on the river. The first 20 minutes of this movie, though, it didn't feel like I was watching a Tomb Raider Lara Croft movie. It just felt like a totally different movie in my eyes. But it was good. It was entertaining. I guess the first 20 minutes were there to show you that Lara Croft wanted to be just a regular girl, if you would, average girl. She didn't need her family's money or fortune or part of their business. But I really enjoyed the set pieces of this. I thought it was fun. There are a lot of puzzle elements to the movie. Walton Goggins does a great job as the villain, in my opinion. Very unlikable. But I hope we see more Tomb Raiders with Vikander as Lara Croft. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was pretty entertaining. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. The next thing I saw was a movie on Amazon Prime. But somebody made a comment, sorry, that always itched my nose during review videos. I realized, like, as soon as I started recording this video, my nose was itchy, and I'm always going like this. And they had a comment about it. It was a rude comment, so I deleted it, but, like, sorry that I keep doing that. But yeah, I don't know why. Like, my nose got super itchy as soon as I started recording this video. Maybe it's my mustache tickling my nose. Anyway, so the next thing I watched was on Amazon Prime. It is Honey Boy, which was written by, It was written by Shia LaBeouf. Basically a semi-autobiographical movie. Does that make sense? But it's basically written about Shia LaBeouf's experiences, from when he was on Even Stevens up and through, when he got in trouble with the law. After Transformers and all that. So the movie stars Lucas Hedges, who plays older Shia LaBeouf, Noah Jupe, who was in the movie Wonder, and I believe he's in A Quiet Place, plays younger Shia LaBeouf. Both were great. Noah Jupe was really good as a younger Shia LaBeouf. And then Shia LaBeouf plays his own father in the movie, basically. So the character's name isn't, like I said, it's Shia LaBeouf. It's based on his life. It has multiple ideas going for it, and it was good, but it was like it was missing something. Like they were trying to do too much, and it was kind of jumbled. But I think if you watch interviews with Shia LaBeouf or you know about him, I'm a big fan of his, but it just seems really jumbled, but he kind of seems really jumbled, so it kind of made sense to me. But it was definitely interesting to see the relationship between a child actor and their guardian, their father. who's also a manager of, Shia LaBeouf, with his own kind of motives. So it was interesting to see that. I thought that, it was a very good movie. Wasn't as great as I was hoping. I had really, really, really high hopes when I saw it. I didn't get to see it in theaters, and it was an Amazon movie, so as soon as it came on Prime, Bridget and I watched it. It was good. It just wasn't great for me. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think I just realized, let's see here. I might not have done my hot trash of the month. I got to, let's see. Oh, I did. I thought I forgot. Sorry. The next thing I saw was Real Unlimited. I went and saw the rhythm section, which stars, I believe it's Blake Lively. Yeah, Blake Lively. For some reason in my head I mixed her and Amber Heard up. So I put, and this is direct from my review I wrote on Letterboxd, how to sum this movie up in one single word: boring, all caps, exclamation points. It was a very tedious movie just to get through and sit through in the movies. There wasn't a lot happening throughout the entire movie. And when stuff happens, the way the movie was edited was almost like headache inducing. It was like very jumpy and jumbled. The action was shot very sloppily. And I struggled to stay awake for the first 45 minutes of the movie. It was tough for me to sit there and pay attention. And I saw it like right after work. I saw it like 5:15 one day. So this is a movie I recommend that you skip. It was pretty tough to get through. I give it a 1 out of 5. I personally think there's many other things like to sit and watch, many other things. I cannot recommend this movie. Like I said, pretty tough to get through. The same cannot be said about the next thing I watched, which I watched on Vudu. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Joe Martinez. He told me I needed to see the movie. He told me that he was going to pay for me to watch it, whether it be if I rented it digitally, he said he's going to take care of me. So he shot me a few dollars because I had some Vudu credit. And that movie is The Nightingale from 2019. This is not an easy watch. So what I mean is it's basically a revenge film that takes place in the 1820s in Australia. There is parts of this movie that, like, Bridget and I both went, whoa, like, this is unsettling, but it was good. It was a very well done movie. The performances were great. The lead actress, whose name I did not write down, was very good. This is also not a movie for the faint of heart. If you don't like gore, if you don't like, I don't want to spoil anything. There are parts in this movie where if you have a soul, you are going to feel uncomfortable and you are not going to like what's happening on the screen. We'll just leave it at that. The movie has incredible performances, like I said. But, there were parts of the story that were a bit predictable, but the payoff was so well done, and I thought the story was so well done that it's definitely worth watching. I give it a 4 out of 5. I think it only came out on DVD, or maybe it came out on Blu-ray too. I think Walmart was only carrying the DVD. If I come across it down the line, I'd say I'd buy it, but I don't know if I want to sit through it again. It's one of those movies, it is very good. However, it is very uncomfortable to get through certain parts. So proceed with caution, but I highly recommend. 4 out of 5. The next thing I watched was a first time watch for me. And if you guys know my taste in movies, pointing at like that movie there, which was my favorite like 3 or 4 years ago, La La Land, A Star is Born, Sing Street, you'll notice that Rocket Man, I am a sucker for movies about music, biopics, fictional. I love movies based on music. And I had never seen Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon. And boy, am I mad at myself for not watching this sooner. This movie was so good. It made me want to go out and buy some Johnny Cash CDs so I can check out more of his music. Because I'm not super familiar with Johnny Cash and his music. Yes, I'm familiar with Ring of Fire and, his cover of Hurt. and Folsom County Blues. You know, I'm familiar with some of his music, just not a lot of it. And this was so good. Joaquin Phoenix was phenomenal as Johnny Cash. Didn't know he could sing or play guitar, which he did in this movie. Even Reese Witherspoon, who sang as June Carter, was very good as well. She doesn't exactly sound like June Carter, but she had a very unique voice. But I thought the movie was fantastic. You know, let's see here. Reese Witherspoon's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it had some moments that took me by surprise, but overall, I really loved the movie. Thought it was well done. Cannot believe that Joaquin didn't, like, I don't think he won the award or didn't get nominated for it. I know maybe he did get nominated, but Reese Witherspoon won. The movie was great. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Walk the Line, definitely worth checking out. And then the next thing, been wanting to show these to RJ, and we dove in, and those are the Batman franchise, starting with 1989's Batman, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. And like I said, RJ had never seen them. He's a big Batman fan. Well, he's a big Joker fan. He also, you know, likes Batman. But he's only really seen like animated stuff and, you know, not like the classic movies. He had seen part of Returns before. So we put this in. I hadn't watched this movie in such a long time. And in my opinion, spoiler alert for upcoming reviews in this video and March's video, I think this is the best out of the 4 Batman films. The 1989 to 1997 Batman films, not talking about the Dark Knight trilogy. Jack Nicholson is so good in this movie. He's such a great Joker. I forgot how well he played the Joker. You know, it was just a fun time. Kim Basinger is okay in the movie. Not the hugest fan, but really did enjoy it. RJ enjoyed this as well. I give it a 4 out of 5. Like I said, I think this is the best out of the 4 movie 89 to 97 run, if you will. The next thing we watched was Batman Returns. Excuse me. These are all part of the, I have the black box set that I just have the individual ones out of it so I can show off in videos. So this stars Keaton as well, last time playing Batman. Probably my favorite Batman ever, even more so than Christian Bale. Definitely more than Val Kilmer or George Clooney. But it also stars Danny DeVito, who plays Penguin, and Michelle Pfeiffer, who is great as Catwoman. Danny DeVito is great as the Penguin. You know, it's a good movie. It's not the best movie, but it's good. It's, you know, not on the same level as 89's Batman, but it was a very dark and gritty movie for considering the run of those 4 movies. Obviously not as dark and gritty as the Dark Knight trilogy, but I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I think Danny DeVito is the highlight of the movie as the Penguin. I think he makes the movie watchable. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is good. There's parts that are eye-rolling, but like I said, this is more comedy, especially when we get into Forever and Batman and Robin, and those will be in March's video. They're very over the top, obviously, but I give this a 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, it's a good watch. I enjoy it. The next thing I went and saw was Fantasy Island, Regal Unlimited. So I went into this movie with high expectations. It was one of my most anticipated of February. And when we went and saw it, it had a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not the kind of person who thinks Rotten Tomatoes is gospel because of the way they come up with their scores is ridiculous. But I do like to look at the audience score and the tomato score to kind of see what people are thinking. But I don't do that until after I watch the movie. But I basically hoped for an entertaining movie. I didn't want it to be another Truth or Dare for me. And it was entertaining. I thought it was very entertaining. I'm not saying that it's a great movie, because it's not. but I'm also not saying it's awful, because it isn't. It's a very middle of the road film. Um, there were parts in Act 3 that literally had me throwing my hands up in the air in the theater like, is this really? This is what's going on? But, it's... If you go into a movie like that expecting everything to, make 100% sense and be like, oh yeah, no, this made sense and, yeah, this is realistic. That's not what this kind of movie is. It's about an island where your fantasy comes true. So, I will also say that this movie is being billed as a horror film, or was billed as a horror film. It's definitely not a horror movie. In my opinion, it's like a thriller, kind of PG-13 suspense movie. I think the PG-13 rating was very deserved for it. A lot of times people say, like, you always want stuff to be rated R. That's not true. I want stuff to be rated R when it makes sense for the story or what's going on. Like, there's a movie coming out called Run, Sweetheart, Run. It's rated R. It's going to be rated R. I believe it's a Blumhouse movie. It looks like the rated R factor of it will help with that story. This movie is a movie for teenagers to go see. It's a way for them to see a scary movie. And, the same way like Happy Death Day to You and Truth or Dare was. However, in my opinion, this is better than both those movies. Not as good as Happy Death Day, the original, but I think it was better than Happy Death Day to You. Definitely better than Truth or Dare. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Definitely worth checking out. Not going to be on anybody's top of the year list, but I also don't think it's worthy to be on anybody's bottom of the year list, especially when you see movies like The Rhythm Section, Truth or Dare, Doolittle, not Truth or Dare, The Turning, Like a Boss, all horrible movies compared to this. This was very watchable. Man. So, the next thing I saw was Once on Blu-ray, and this is written and directed by John Carney. I'm familiar with John Carney because he was the writer and director of Sing Street, which was one of my favorite movies of the last probably 5 years. Fantastic movie if you guys haven't seen it. But I know this is a movie that Bridget has said that she has the soundtrack, the music's good. I wanted to see it. And so I went in with an open mind, and it was a very good movie. The music in the film is excellent. I really enjoyed the music. It helped make the movie more watchable, in my opinion. And it sucked you into the movie. It does so right away with his music. The movie was shot for, I think, less than $200,000. And you can see that in a lot of the film. It was like they almost didn't have proper clearances in some of the shots where they're shooting in crowds, and they're just basically trying to get shots of the actors. And it felt kind of weird in that respect, but it's also kind of cool to see a movie being made like that, kind of guerrilla style. But the music really carried this movie through, their love story, if you will, which I don't want to get into, but it's very well done. It's rated R. There's a lot of language in it, but that's pretty much it. Just language, nothing more. So, and the soundtrack is phenomenal. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely something I would check out again. So then, being on the John Carney kick, we dove into Begin Again, which was the other movie he's done outside of Once and Sing Street. And the cast in this movie is really what sold me initially. You have Adam Levine from Maroon 5. That's not what sold me. But you have Mark Ruffalo, Keira Knightley, Haley Steinfeld, James Corden, Catherine Keener, CeeLo Green. And the story in this kind of just meanders for me. Basically, Keira Knightley is dating Adam Levine, and they kind of, I guess they break up after Adam Levine gets a record deal. And then she meets Dan, who's Mark Ruffalo, who owns a record company. And basically he wants to make an album with her. But what he wants to do for his album is record it in all different locations. Record it outside, record it on top of a building. Like every song has a different location, if you will. And, It was good, but not nearly as good as Once. Definitely not as good as Sing Street. Keira Knightley was great as the lead. However, Mark Ruffalo in this movie was pretty unlikable, and I wasn't a big fan of his performance. I give it a 3 out of 5. This is not going to make my shelf. Once is going to make the shelf. Begin Again will not be making the shelf, so that's going in a separate pile here. The next thing I saw was Impractical Jokers, the movie. If you guys do not know, I'm a massive fan of the Impractical Jokers. Sal is my favorite Joker. He's my spirit animal. The shirts that Sal wears are great. I find myself every time a new episode comes on, like, what shirt's he rocking? Like, and it'll be a Wu-Tang shirt or Trading Places shirt or a 3 O'Clock High shirt, Back to the Future shirt. He always has wrestling shirts. But Sal is my favorite. I love the Impractical Jokers. So what they did when this movie initially came out is it was playing in very limited theaters. There was a very limited run of theaters it was playing in. And what they did, because True TV basically put out this movie. It wasn't funded by a major studio when it came out. And so they basically divided up the 4 Impractical Jokers, went to different areas to promote the movie, just to say thank you to the fans for going out, doing like a few minutes of Q&A before the movie. And Brian Quinn, was sick that weekend. He was supposed to do like New York area, but I found out that Sal was in the Philadelphia area. So I was freaking out. I was like, what happens if I get to see Sal? And we were supposed to go to the movie earlier in the day when we went and saw it. And things happened, and we were going and doing some movie hunting, which that'll be coming up in probably the next video that I record. The next video I record, I'll show you the stuff I got that day. And Bridget and I went on an adventure. And I found out when we were at our last stop, after we had postponed what screening we were going to, that Sal was going to be at my screening. I started freaking out. I started losing my mind. I was going to get to see Sal Vulcano in person. Like I said, my favorite Impractical Joker. Almost went out to Boston last year to go see him do stand-up. I've never seen him do stand-up. I've only seen him on the show. So the fact that the movie started out with me getting to see my favorite Impractical Joker in person, just made the experience that much cooler. As for the movie, if you're a fan of the show, you will love the movie. If you're not a fan of the show, you probably will bash the movie. The plot is they're basically going from, New York to Florida to go to a Paula Abdul concert based on something that happened when they were younger. I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you watch the show and you enjoy it, you're gonna have fun. However, the scenes where they're actually doing the punishments and the challenges throughout, which is what the show is, was very funny, very enjoyable. The acting between is a little suspect, but it's what I expected from the movie. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. If it comes out on physical media, I will be supporting it. I will buy it. It was a fun time. I really liked it. 3.5 out of 5. And that's more that can be said. Anyway, this was absolutely awful. And this is Father Figures starring Owen Wilson, Ed Helms, Terry Bradshaw, Ving Rhames, who else? Glenn Close, Christopher Walken, Cat Williams, J.K. Simmons, all-star cast. But a movie that I initially had zero desire to go see. However, Bridget and I went away for her birthday, and this came on Comedy Central. I started watching the first 5 minutes, and I was like, I would watch this, but I don't want to watch it on Comedy Central where it's all cut up and edited. And so I turned it off right away. I wasn't going to watch that. So when we got back, I owned it. I'd never seen it. I think I bought this really cheap. It does have a nice slipcover. And this movie is boring. For some reason, it's almost 2 hours. It's an hour and 55 minutes. and it overstays its welcome by about 40 minutes. It is tough to get through. I don't think I laughed at all watching this. Like, not one time. Basically, the story about two brothers who are trying to figure out who their dad is because Glenn Close doesn't know, because it was the 70s when she had them. And yeah, Owen Wilson is at least, Owen Wilson-y in the movie and made it a little watchable. Ed Helms is brutal in the movie. It was messy and just unfunny. And this isn't my hot trash of the month, guys, so be prepared. I gave this a 1 out of 5, and I think I was being nice when I did that. That is not making the shelf. It is coming off the shelf. The next thing I watched, Brian Banks. So I'm a sucker for true story movies. I'm a sucker for football movies. So I wanted to check this out. It's the story of Brian Banks, who was played by Aldous Hodge. Basically, the story of Brian Banks is he was falsely imprisoned at the age of 16. He was tried as an adult for basically a rape charge. We'll leave it at that. And at that time, he had a full ride to USC for football. He was projected to be a top NFL draft pick. And it shows through flashbacks and such his journey and what happens along the way, what he went through in prison, how he dealt with that. He was a very educated man. He tried to basically, right the wrong that was done to him, what he felt. And, it was very well done. Greg Kinnear plays a lawyer who helps him out. Sherry Shepherd plays his mom. It was good. It was very watchable. However, it's one of those movies, I've seen it now. I don't need to rewatch it. There's not enough that, I think it demands multiple viewings. So this actually is not going to make the shelf. I give it a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy it. But just, it's not going to be a rewatchable movie for me. 3 out of 5. So that's going in the non-shelf pile. The next flick I watched was Girl on the Third Floor, and it is my surprise of the month. Basically, I went into this movie knowing nothing about it except for CM Punk starred in it. If you guys don't know, CM Punk is a wrestler, former UFC fighter, I hope. And it is a haunted house horror movie, which is outside of my comfort zone, but I went in with an open mind. And Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk, Phil Brooks is his real name, was the lead in the film, and he was pretty good in the movie. There's parts of it where his acting is a bit over the top, a bit too much, but I still enjoyed it. There were legit jump scares in this movie. There were creepy scenes, creepy special effects that were going on. And it doesn't overstay its welcome. I want to say it's like 90 minutes. And I really enjoyed it. I give it a 3 out of 5. Definitely, it's on Netflix. That's where I watched it. If you guys have access to this movie, I believe it got a physical release as well. Check it out. Definitely something different. Definitely not what I was expecting, but a good movie. The next thing I saw, we're down to the last two, guys, was Hot Trash of the Month. That's right. It's time. Hot Trash of the Month, and that is something I don't physically own, thank God. Playing with Fire, starring John Cena. It is that awful movie, about the firefighters, the smoke jumpers, if you will, starring John Cena, John Leguizamo, Keegan-Michael Key, Judy Greer. And so what I'm going to do, I am going to read you my review from Letterboxd for this because I think it sums up pretty well how I feel about the movie. As the father of a 9-year-old son, I would hope that there are movies released that are entertaining not only to my son but to myself. Then stuff comes along with a PG rating made for families, and not only is it not entertaining to me, but it's not entertaining for the 9-year-old audience it was directed at. This is an example of one of the saddest attempts of a film, a studio cash grab, and this movie features actors who should be ashamed of themselves for taking on this role, such as John Leguizamo, Keegan-Michael Key, and Judy Greer. However, it doesn't surprise me that John Cena would jump on and sign on as the lead of a movie like this. Since this is a movie about smoke jumpers, I will award it what it deserves, hot trash. It is awful. Don't buy it. Don't support it. Paramount should be ashamed of themselves for putting out the movie. It is awful. It is garbage. It is terrible. I am so glad I got it from the library, so I did not pay out of pocket, but I'm mad at myself that I subjected not only myself to it, but RJ to it. It gets a half a star out of me being nice. Awful. Don't. The last thing we watched wasn't awful, and that is Peewees Big Adventure. I wanted to show this to RJ, who was familiar with Pee Wee Herman, but had never seen the movie. I enjoyed this movie a lot when I was a kid. Definitely wanted to check it out. I will say, if you're not a fan of Pee Wee Herman or the character of Pee Wee Herman, don't watch this movie. You won't like it. He's extra Pee Wee-esque throughout the movie. And I don't especially love the last, like the beginning 30 minutes of this movie. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. The last hour of the film is great when he goes on his big adventure. It's just a fun time. It's rated PG. It's family friendly. I really enjoyed it. It looks great on Blu-ray. I give it a 4 out of 5. And it's making the shelf. So that's it, guys. 21 movies up, 21 movies down. Thank you guys for watching. As always, be sure to check out the description box down below where you can find links to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, eBay, all that stuff. Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies I watch. My email address, Amazon wishlist, all that can be found down below. P.O. Box. And that's it, guys. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you don't already, and until next time, who's down to movie?